Hi there, my name is Steve Snapp, and in this episode, I'm going to talk about this concept of building momentum. In the intro email that we sent you, I talked very, very briefly about momentum and just the value of it. And I just wanted to go a little bit deeper into it, talk a little bit about some of the techniques that we use and just some of the recommendations that we make for you and your team. Let me just start by saying that when you're creating momentum, and what I mean, actually, let me start by describing what I mean by momentum. What I really mean by momentum is that work is getting done on a consistent basis and decisions are being made. One of the key things that I like to talk about when clients are thinking about implementing CRM is ways to reduce risk. And one of the reasons that reducing risk is important is because many clients are asked to spend a significant amount of money on licenses and a significant amount of money on consulting even before you begin doing the actual work. So reducing risk is a big idea when you're considering spending, $50 or $100 or $500,000 on this quote unquote Salesforce implementation. You're not sure what the results are. Where momentum comes in is that one of the things that I recommend we do to reduce risk is to make decisions quickly and to create momentum. So imagine that you've got a weekly meeting with our team and you have a weekly meeting with your internal team. And so every week, and this could be more than weekly, but I'm just using weekly as sort of the basic starting point. Imagine every week decisions are being made and changes are being made and data is being imported and fields are being created and reports are, things are happening and they're happening on a cadence. And so that momentum, as long as the people participating in it stay disciplined and essentially go to the meeting, then the momentum in and of itself creates its own sort of fulfilling concept. It gets a lot of the work done just because things are moving and people aren't having to stop and start, et cetera. So the first big idea is that creating momentum helps to reduce risk. The second thing is that you're creating change on that cadence that we talked about. And finally, and this is kind of more how we think about it, the momentum that I've described helps us build a really good relationship with our client and for our client to build a really good relationship with us. So I talk about in the risk-free prototype video, one of the reasons we do risk-free prototype is to build that relationship and to sort of quickly realize if our client's serious or if we're serious, if we're a good fit. And the momentum part of this also continues to help building a relationship because whether we're meeting weekly or twice a month or whatever the frequency is, there's ongoing work being done, connections are being made, other problems are being solved, and a lot of issues that we didn't necessarily even anticipate are getting uncovered and getting resolved. So it's just a great mechanism, and as you can tell, we obviously believe in it. So how do we do it? Well, the first thing that we do is we establish a meeting rhythm, and we really like to establish the meeting rhythm day one. If we can establish the day and time that we're going to meet, and we meet at that day and time forever, that to us is the ideal. And obviously life happens and things need to get tweaked and sometimes things are getting rescheduled. But the point is your team knows, this is Tuesday at 3:00. Our team knows it's Tuesday at 3:00. Your team has things that they need to get done before next Tuesday. Our team has things they need to get done before next Tuesday. And that discipline and that rhythm creates those weekly deadlines. So that's kind of how we do it. But a couple of things, I just want to get a little bit more detailed on what are kind of three things that we focus on. So the first one is establishing a meeting agenda. Now the agenda may change from week to week, but it's always important that we have an agenda. And generally when we start a meeting, we always want to identify things that the client may want to add to the agenda. So it's not always us creating the agenda, it's the team, our team, your team creating the agenda. And so the agenda will modify over time. Things will become higher priority, things will become lower priority, but there's always a meeting agenda. Now, obviously that may seem obvious, but the reason I mention that is because the agenda should reflect two other key elements, which is your stuff and our stuff. So your stuff is the things that you guys are working on, the things that you've, internal deadlines that you've established. And our stuff are the things that we're doing on the Salesforce side, development, data migration, we're making configurations, customizations, et cetera. That's all part of the stuff that we're doing on our side. Now, I mentioned in the previous videos that part of what we'll be working on together is a shared project document. Once we get a risk-free prototype started, we use a Google spreadsheet. We did provide an example of that spreadsheet via Excel in the first email that you got. But eventually that gets promoted to a Google spreadsheet, which means that it's a shared spreadsheet. And we begin to use that spreadsheet not only for our agenda, but also to capture the key decisions that we're making. So as we're going through the project and we're making decisions about data model, or we're making decisions about reports, or we're making decisions about screen design, et cetera, we're capturing those key decisions in that shared environment that we all have access to. So how do we sort of get started with this? Well, as I've said in other videos, when you're ready, we want to go ahead and schedule the start meeting. And in that start meeting, we're going to basically nail down a date and time that we can start working on. But we're also going to begin to define what's an appropriate cadence. Is it weekly? Is it monthly, et cetera? As I said in other videos, we usually try to target a Tuesday, Thursday schedule for these meetings. And I don't want to make it too much about the individual day, but we find that generally speaking, it avoids major holidays. It avoids kind of the Monday, Friday holidays. And like I said a few minutes ago, ideally, we like this to be a meeting that we sort of work on and that we work on with our clients in perpetuity. Now, the beautiful thing about the meeting is that that meeting may be set at a particular date and time, but who's there can vary. So sometimes it might be more of an executive level meeting where we're talking about high level stuff. It could all go all the way down to turn into a data integration meeting where we're actually looking at data files and scripts and things like that. So, and obviously the meeting's designed not only to be flexible with the people, but it can also identify, hey, we need to have some other working sessions or some other meetings or meet with other users. So again, the point is about creating momentum and about creating the rhythm. But the way that we do that is we try to identify a start date and time that works for everybody. Excuse me. So finally, if you're ready to get started and you have not started the risk-free prototype yet, the next step is to go ahead and send us the NDA if you haven't already, and let's go ahead and schedule that start call. And in that call, like I said, we will nail down some of the details, find a date and time that works for everybody, identify who sort of the core team members are, and actually start taking steps. If you're not quite ready to do the risk-free prototype, what you can do is start to do some of this internally. And so we can help you start to put together the project doc, or I've got another video where we talk through the Google Doc and how we work with it and what we're looking for, et cetera. So if you watch that video, it'll kind of give you an idea of what kind of conversations you may want to start having internally. So go ahead and watch that video. I'll go into much more detail about what you can do if you're not quite ready to do the risk-free prototype, but you do want to start making progress. What does that look like? And finally, I've included in this video, or I should say in the description and in other video links to this whole series of how to get started. So watch those other videos, get some ideas. In addition to that, we'll be sending you some emails that share some ideas about different things that people are doing. So just start the process. And so if you're not ready to actually start the risk-free prototype, but you are ready to start making some progress, I'd recommend a weekly internal meeting that you guys start working towards and start fulfilling. And with that said, I'll just end by saying thank you. I'm looking forward to helping you in any way we can, helping you to reduce your risk. And if you'd like to subscribe or like this video or join the channel, you can certainly do that as well. Thank you.